Hey, I'm like 5 videos deep on this channel, and this the first time I'm glazing the Knicks, so I apologize if I start getting real dick righty. OG Anunoby has genuinely changed my life, though. No exaggeration. Do you know how ass we would be right now without him? Don't get me wrong, we would still be getting buckets, but even with OG right now, our defense has been our weak link this year. They mentioned that we were like 21st in defensive rating last night. Bridges hasn't been the elite wing defender we expected him to be so far this year, and has contributed to his rough start to the season overall with his poor three-point shooting and everything. Cat probably couldn't guard an elderly Army veteran with one arm and a metal leg in the paint. He did a solid job on Jokic last night, though, don't get me wrong. Overall, though, OG has been the Knicks' only consistently great defender on the team so far this year. We only got along defensively before him because Mitchell Robinson was that good. He's been known for his defense throughout his career, but this year he's taken an offensive leap as well. Aside from his 40 ball against the Nuggets yesterday, he has 7 total 20-point games, and he's averaging a career-high 19 points per game. He already got Kawhi comparisons early in his career, and they had some merit, but it was always lacking a bit on the offensive side of the ball. They both have an offensive game that's not really as smooth as pure scorers like Kyrie or KD, and sometimes can look clunky and stiff, but they're still effective from all 3 levels regardless. I think OG is a little bit quicker too. Kawhi didn't have the deepest bag, but as his career progressed, he transitioned from primarily a perimeter defender that could give you a bucket here or there to a two-way superstar that would lock up the other team's best player while giving you 25 a night. Do I agree with the Kawhi and OG comparisons? I mean, you could argue that OG isn't on his level offensively, but there's also obvious similarities in their play style, and you could also make the case that OG just never really got the chance to be the main bucket getter on the team. When Kawhi was coming up in San Antonio, I know Popovich and a lot of Spurs fans saw hella potential, but most NBA fans thought he'd be an elite role player with maybe an all-star ceiling back then. But around that time, the Spurs had an aging Duncan who was going to wrap it all up at any moment, Manu Ginobili, who was also headed to the nursing home and really only playing like 20 minutes a game, and Tony Parker in his early 30s. Still an all-star level player, but really not someone who you'd want to rely on as your main scoring option. The year they won their last championship, the 2013-14 season, Tony Parker was their leading scorer with just 16.7 points a game. In the finals, Kawhi alerted the basketball world to his two-way potential when he averaged like 17 or 18 to go with his lockdown defense and had multiple crucial performances like his 29-point Game 3, his 20.14 rebound Game 4, and his 22.10 rebound closeout game. Mind you, he did all of that while shooting 61% from the field and 58% from 3 on 19 attempts. With Duncan rapidly heading towards retirement and the Spurs not really having any major scoring threat, Kawhi kinda had to step up as their first option in the following years and slowly turned into the best two-way player in the league. By the 2016 season, he was putting up 25 points per game while also playing Defensive Player of the Year level defense. Meanwhile, Anunoby has never even really been one of the top 3 scoring options on his team. Forget about the first option. And it's not like he never had the ability. He was just never put in a situation where he needed to step up and be the first option like Kawhi was. Early on in his Toronto career, there was Kawhi himself and then reliable hoopers like Lowry and Siakam that was on the come-up. Then, over the next few years, there was Siakam, who was the star first option, and then his supporting options like Van Vliet. Norman Powell was there for a little while, so was like Gary Trent Jr. The most attempts per game he ever took on the Raptors was 14.5 in the 2021 season, and even then he was 4th on the roster behind Siakam, Van Vliet, and Trent. It was clear he was a capable scorer, though he still put up averages in the 15 to 17 range in those years as like the 4th option. Then he moves to New York, and last season he was the 3rd option behind Randall and Brunson. This season, after the Knicks' active offseason, you could even argue that he's the 4th option right now behind Brunson, Cat, and Bridges, even though he's played way better than Bridges so far this season. Bridges still shoots more than him. 19 points a game on 52% from the field and 42% from 3 while being one of the best defenders in the league. Y'all not about to sit here and tell me he's not an all-star. Now, is he someone I'd want to be the first option on a hypothetical team? Not really. That's not to say he couldn't be. If you put him on some mid-ass team and gave him the keys to lead them, he'd probably elevate them to a solid playoff team, and I could easily see him averaging 25 a night efficiently. But OG is a guy that works better with an all-star teammate. He doesn't get most of his buckets off the dribble. His off-ball movement is fantastic, and it's how he gets a lot of open layups and dunks. He's also a great catch and shooter. He's not somebody that's going to spend games hitting step-back triples and dribbling defenders' legs off. You wouldn't really want the other team's best defender guarding him for a full game. He's perfectly fine next to players like Brunson and Cat. I'm just saying that people who think the Kawhi comparisons are ridiculous just because of Kawhi's numbers at this age aren't taking into account the context of the different situations of the teams they've been on. That Scottie Pippen archetype of NBA players is the exact player that any NBA team wants on their roster. I can't believe people thought we overpaid for him. It's funny because this exact same OG Anunoby could go to the Bulls or something and average 25 and 5 with elite D, and nobody would say $40 million a year wasn't overpay at all. A lot of basketball fans don't understand roles and the importance of having players like him on contending teams. The Knicks were never going to let him leave, and he's proven why.